are you? Good morning. Actually, good evening for you since you're with us from France.
Yes, good morning to you.
Thank you.
I
Thank
guess it's
you.
evening here. It's 6 p.m. here.
Wow. You're in Paris, right? Are you
I'm
outside?
in, I'm in Toulouse, which is the south of France.
Yes. So thank you for taking the time on your Friday evening to join us, Dani. I really appreciate it.
I
To
think I'm
jump
sure.
right in, we onboarded Lila in the Sky Jewelry to Michelle over a year ago. It was super interesting to me when we about your jewelry, what makes it so unique. So you title your jewelry as Jewelry for the Mind, Body, and Soul. Tell me a little bit about what that means.
Most of my jewelry has, we work with, well, I work with gemstones. And so the gemstones, it has an effect on the mind, body, and the soul. And we, especially here in France, but I think the same in California because I'm half, my mom's from California. I grew up in Brazil. And Brazilians, Americans, I think the French were really into gemstones and healing with the gemstones, and that they have uh, certain gemstones, they can have different effects on the body. And it's not just woo. Actually, there is quite a lot of research on gemstones. Like for example, amethyst, it actually absorbs electromagnetic pollution. And I think there's just so much about gemstones that actually has not been researched yet that would be interesting if probably in the future there's more research coming out. But there's a lot of interesting effects from gemstones that it does affect your body, mind, and spirit because a lot of people suffer from electromagnetic pollution stress and you know they cannot deal with Wi-Fi and you know so gemstones has a lot of effects on the mind, body, and spirit. And I've always been quite interested in health because I have a background in nutritional therapy. I studied nutritional therapy when I was in the UK, and it was very holistic. We were in a very holistic environment together with acupuncturists and herbal people who were studying herbal medicine. So there are a lot of interesting things that are naturally natural, such as uh, we can go to the forest and do forest bathing, and that reduces stress. And there's a lot of studies on forest bathing.
I've heard
So
about
I think where you and I, we connected a lot because we're a lot into these natural kinds of healing and into wellness.
Yes, yes. And I think I told you just shortly, maybe 6 months ago, I took a course, and it was really about rewiring the subconscious. But it aligned very much so with meditating and the correct way to meditate and affirmations. And I knew a little bit about it before I took this course, but then after the course, I was super intrigued by it. When looking at some of your jewelry, it aligns very much so with meditating. So tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so meditation is has been researched a lot for the benefits on the mind, body, and spirit. And one of the things is that it transformed my life because when I was in London in my 20s, I had a lot of stress related to living abroad. Also, I was working, studying. So I started going to all of the meditation centers. I started with Osho meditation, and then I went to Buddhist meditation, and then I ended up with Kriya meditation. So I've tried a lot of different techniques. I
Wow.
got initiated in Kriya Yoga meditation, and I was teaching it for a while here in Toulouse. And so I was really into mala beads, which I'll show the ones that one of my favorites, which is the pearl mala.
Hmm. So
So it's
pretty.
made with pearl.
Hmm.
So meditation beads are really good for actually keeping you connected to your breath because one of the myths in meditation is that we cannot think about anything, and that is just not possible.
It's
The
really not.
thing, yeah, the thing with meditation is really just to allow your mind space to relax and to be able to observe some of the thoughts that can be negative, positive, any thoughts that we have, just to be able to observe them with curiosity. But we can get really stuck into different stories when we're meditating. So with the mala beads, what they do, the meditation beads, they bring you back to the here and now. And the way that you use it is that with every breath cycle of inhale and exhale, you touch a bead, you inhale, you exhale, and then you go to the next bead, and then you go to the next. And
Really? So
yeah,
you only do this while you're meditating. You don't wear the necklace 24/7. You only touch each bead during your meditation practice.
um, I have clients that swear by using their mala. They like to use their mala necklaces and kind of like touch it during the day so that they remember to breathe. Because sometimes, just like I think it's six cycles of inhaling and exhaling deeply. They can already change your state and your release of cortisol. So there's a lot of research on meditation and more is coming out, and so that's one of the things that I love the mala, because it's kind of like a technology. It's a kind
Yes, I
of
love
like it came before. It comes from meditation traditions such as the in India, the yogic tradition. And so basically, before they had technology apps and everything, they used the mala beads to be able to bring them back into the present moment when they were meditating. So it's a piece of technology. And the beautiful thing about it is that it's a piece of jewelry as well. So you can actually wear it, and it kind of reminds you that you can just take a little break here and then and breathe. And I wanted to be able to do malas that were not just the ones that we see everywhere that have the tassel, that have, I mean, nothing against those, but it's just not really what I'm into. I live in France. People here are very fashionable. We like to wear beautiful things. I like beauty myself. And so that's why I started creating malas that didn't look like the traditional tassel malas. So they have usually gold. They all have 108 gemstones. So this one's 108 pearls.
Wow.
And the reason I'm showing this one is because it's my absolute favorite.
Hmm.
It has the pearl, which in traditional Chinese medicine, crystal healing, known as stone medicine. It is a gemstone that reminds you of your self-worth. And I think it's quite a universal theme that I think everyone struggles with, feeling the need to validate themselves, to remember their self-worth.
Hmm.
So if you think of the pearl is actually, it comes from the oyster. So the oyster, it gets a grain of sand, which is actually irritating. It's painful for the oyster, and it actually transforms it into something beautiful, something a treasure. And so it's kind of like also a metaphor for us that we're able to transform our own pain into our gifts, into something beautiful that we can actually use to serve humanity. And and that and that basically we all have a pearl within us. We all have a gift within us, because all souls are equal, all souls are one.
I love this, Dani. I love this, love this, love this. So you, and for those of you joining us, please, if you have comments, questions, Dani is with us live from France talking about her gorgeous jewelry, her mind, body, and soul jewelry, Lila in the Sky. Um, so I'm sorry, Dani, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
It's fine.
I love that. I love that. You know, for me, during the day, I find myself walking up to my mirror and saying the 5 things that have made me smile so far for that day. I'm now envisioning me holding or wearing that necklace, right? Because it sounds like it truly brings more light. Am I describing that correctly? It brings more light to those things that make me smile, which is really things that I'm grateful for, which just
Yes.
makes me overall feel better.
I love your exercise of doing it around in front of the mirror.
I
It,
do. I do. I learned that from someone else that I follow on TikTok, and she's really into meditations. And she said, you know, anytime that you're feeling frustrated, upset, worrying about something that you have zero control over, take a break, walk to the mirror, and just say out loud the 5 things that have made you smile. Sorry, 5 things that have made you smile so far for that day. She said, because every time you do that, you're really saying out loud to the universe 5 things that you're super grateful for.
That's
So
beautiful.
anyway, thank
Yes.
you. Thank you. So anyway, please continue. So gorgeous necklace. Thank you for explaining, the beads and how they enrich us, especially our souls. What else do you have to show us?
I also brought, this is the Kiss by Guy Mala bracelet.
Oh, that's a beautiful
So
piece.
yeah, it has 2 different kinds of amethysts. So chevron amethyst, and then it's got a light colored amethyst. And then it has kunzite. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it the best way, kunzite or kunzite in America.
Yeah, I think it's kunzite. Yeah.
Yeah, and then it has pink tourmaline. And what I love about amethyst is that it's really soothing, and I think everybody probably needs it with all that's going on in the world right now, and the war and everything. I feel sometimes at edge being here in Europe with all that's going on, and so amethyst is really good for relaxation. And it's also a protective gemstone. And then, as I had mentioned before, it does protect you against electromagnetic pollution. So it absorbs the color purple is actually because it absorbs gamma rays. That's why it turns purple. And then if you want to cleanse your amethyst, you put it in the sun and it fades. It actually yeah, the sun transmutes the gamma rays that get stuck into the amethyst. And so
Really?
it's one of my another gemstone that I love and swear by because it does keep you calm, and it does protect you from electromagnetic pollution, and it's also protective if you're going to somewhere. Sometimes in the past when I would sometimes be working with peers and you feel like it's a toxic environment and you just need to feel a bit more protected when you're entering that space. Like I used to always carry a little amethyst with me, and you can have it in your wrist. And then we have kunzite, which is for the heart chakra, and it's a beautiful gemstone because it's kind of it kind of rekindles our unconditional love towards ourselves. So when I think about unconditional love, I think of my daughter, our children. Our children is usually who we feel
Yeah.
that kind of unconditional love. She can say anything to me. She can be, throwing a tantrum, and no matter what, I love her.
Yes.
Um, but sometimes it's hard to feel that towards ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we can be very hard. I'm actually very hard with myself, so I like to have sometimes contact to remember, like, to put myself into the mindset that I can actually forgive myself or be more compassionate, more nicer to myself, like I am when I am in the presence of my daughter. And then, so we have kunzite here for that. And then there is tourmaline. And tourmaline is another gemstone that I really love because it is the first acupuncture needles were actually made out of tourmaline. So can you imagine how luxurious to have like an acupuncture session with tourmaline needles? So the first needles they were actually tourmaline gemstones forged into needles. And uh, tourmaline, they're highly piezoelectric, which is all of our electronics. They are actually they get their they get their energy from crystals, such
Mm-hmm.
as quartz crystals. They power all of our electronics, and so tourmaline is one that is like highly piezoelectric. So that means when it's under stress, it actually emits uh, it actually emits like electrical currents, and so it's a really good one in traditional Chinese medicine, crystal healing, because it helps with the flow of qi energy. And it's one of my favorites because it really is energizing. It helps to clear your auric field. So it's one that I have a lot in the products that we sell. And
Very
so
interesting.
it's in this one too.
Dani,
This
can
is
you
one of my
hold that up
favorites.
so that we can see That's beautiful. Absolutely
Yeah.
beautiful. Yeah, it's hard to believe. Again, I've learned so much from you and from just other experts in the meditation fields and understanding your chakras. I mean, it's these things are truly valid, right? I mean, people who don't understand what they are and how they work have a hard time comprehending some of the things that you may be saying. But talking about our electronic, fields, these cell phones, for example, we always have them in our hands. We're always on them. People stick them in their pockets. That is sending electrical waves through your body, correct? Which
Yes.
is interrupting your energy.
Yes.
Am I speaking correctly?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Definitely.
Okay.
Yeah.
So by simply wearing your bracelet, that helps to balance.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. I love that.
I have also, I wanted to show, this is the intuition ring. Oh, here's the intuition ring.
Oh, that's beautiful.
So I
This is
love it.
one of my favorite pieces. I've seen you post about this one, and I have this on Michelle. It's one of my favorites.
And it's nice because it's an adaptable ring. I try to make all the rings adaptable so that everybody can wear them.
Hmm.
And so this one is actually it's labradorite and moonstone. So yeah, the story of moonstone is it's very related. It's a gemstone that is very feminine, very yin, and it's related to our sacral chakra, which is our chakra of creativity.
Hmm.
And it's one of the gemstones that I think I put it a lot also in all of the jewelry because I believe every woman we need to connect to our um, wild woman archetype because we as women we feel a lot of shame towards our sexuality,
Hmm.
a lot of shame towards expressing ourselves through sometimes we don't allow ourselves to be creative, to dance like crazy, to sing, we have to sing perfectly, we have to act perfectly. And so to me, Moonstone, when I think of Moonstone, I think of the archetype of a wild woman,
Hmm.
which is in the book Women Who Runs with Wolves, which is all about connecting to our authentic selves, the selves that we were before we started feeling as children that we had to sit up straight and, act perfectly, not say the wrong things, before we were just like expressing ourselves the way we felt like it. And so Moonstone is for that, is to reconnect us with our authenticity, to our creativity, intuition,
I love
all of the yin feminine aspects of uh, of the universe. So it's one of my favorite gemstones. I try to put it in a lot of the different jewelry that I carry because I think women we have this tendency of wanting to be so perfect sometimes that it hurts. And
worried
yeah,
about
so
what other people think, so we try to stay as perfect as we possibly can in someone
yeah,
else's eyes.
and
It's
sometimes we
almost
just
like going
don't
back to
feel
your
like
inner
it.
child, right? It's like
Yeah,
back to your inner child. Children, they do whatever they want, whenever they want, and say whatever they want. So it's kind of like going backwards. Anyway, I'm sorry
yeah.
to interrupt you.
No, I love it. That's it. It kind of reconnects you with that
Hmm.
wild inner child, wild woman that I think we all kind of we long we know
We,
she's still there and we long for that. We kind of miss having that expression of ourselves that wants to just have fun and do it for the sake of having fun and being in joy.
yeah,
So it's another one of my favorites. And
beautiful.
labradorite too. Labradorite, I just find it such a beautiful gemstone because it's got all of the different colors, blue, uh, gray, pink. It's just it's very magical. And it comes from Labrador, Canada, and the natives of Labrador, for them, it was beings of the Aurora Borealis that were stuck in a gemstone in their view of the Labradorite gemstone. So for them, it was very protective. It was a gemstone that would connect you to, listening to your ancestors, to be able to get guidance and to be able to tap into your intuition, and also very protective. And the funny thing is that here in France, I like to I like to talk to different healers, to see different healers, and usually they all like to wear labradorite because it's very common here in France. Healers love to wear gemstones, and they're always wearing their crystals, and all of them are usually wearing labradorite for that reason, to go on healing and to be able to protect their own energy. And so, yeah, definitely a lot of healers should wear labradorite, and it's the gemstone I think everyone could use more, to feel protected and to get the guidance of our ancestors.
Yes, and to heal. Everyone needs to heal in some way, shape, or form.
Yes, yes.
It's a beautiful, beautiful piece. And Dani, you hand make these, all of your jewelry, correct?
I can make most of them, and then I have a private jewelry maker who I send her my drawings, I send her my designs, and she's also a woman. She's in Jaipur, India, and it's her business. It's a really traditional business that was passed on from generation to generation. So I work with her. I was so happy to connect with her, and she's able to get my drawings and to be able to transform them into some of the cast gold jewelry that I have. And then, like for example, this one here, I don't know if you've seen this one, Michelle, but this one is affirmations. So I'll take it off.
This is a beautiful piece too. All of your stuff is gorgeous. It really is.
So yeah, this one has the affirmations. It's got the phases of the moon, because I'm very much into moon and its phases. And then I don't know if you can see, but it's got love, joy, and peace affirmation. And because it's always nice to be able to remember have these affirmations as a touchstone to remember, that we don't have to take ourselves so seriously. We can just go back to appreciating life and the miracle of life.
Yes.
So yeah, but then so she'll make some of my designs, and then the rest is all made here in France. I have an assistant who helps me, and we together bead every piece, and we get the drawings and some of the gold that I've drawn, and we put them together with we just bead them together with the necklaces, and it's fun to show this one.
So each piece has limited quantities. I mean, you don't mass produce any of your jewelry. So there's very limited pieces made. They're all handmade, obviously by you and your partner in India, which is amazing. So your jewelry is very, very unique in so many ways. And obviously just in the short 20 minutes you've outlined obviously how it's mind, body, and soul related, which puts it in its own unique category by itself. So when I think about the holidays coming up, and I've had customers already pinging me through Michelle.com asking, what would you recommend as a very different gift to give my mother, my sister, my daughter? And my instant reaction is always to recommend Lila and the Sky jewelry, because everything is truly unique. And I feel, and again, this is my personal opinion, that everyone should connect with their mind, body, and definitely their soul. And by wearing one of your pieces, obviously they would be able to do that.
Michelle, I think also the beauty of gifting jewelry is that jewelry is timeless. So it's not, sometimes we give clothing or a perfume, and there are things that they are more ephemeral. While jewelry, it's something you can give it to your daughter, and then maybe your daughter is going to give it to her daughter, and it's something quite timeless that it can become a beautiful story, a family story, and you gave it to your daughter so that she would connect to her self-worth, and then she'll remind her daughter, and it kind of becomes a story that can be passed on. It's not as ephemeral as other gifts.
Right.
It's quite timeless. So I always tell that to my clients too, because I just think that, jewelry has always a story, and it can be, I still have jewelry from my grandmother. I lost my two grandmothers this year, and one of the things that I still have is their jewelry, and I connect, and I remember my grandmother telling me the story of this one ring that was her grandmother's and how it's been in the family. So it's such a beautiful gift to give to people because it's quite timeless. And
Yeah,
then
it
you can
provides
connect with
meanings in many
gem.
ways, right? It
Yeah,
provides meaning in many ways.
yes, and it always does make you feel like you're adorning yourself, like you're celebrating yourself, the miracle of being alive. And I think we should all do that more often because, sometimes I think, being women is quite hard sometimes. We're all comparing ourselves all the time. We all are, feeling insecure about something. And, it's sometimes like, why don't we just relax and just celebrate that
And
this
just
is our vessel to experience this reality, and let's just enjoy that we are here and now, and being able to see so many beautiful things. But
absolutely, I couldn't agree with you more. We get so caught up in the day-to-day craziness that we never take a moment to just truly stop, breathe, and be at peace with ourselves. And
yes,
again, going back to what I said at the beginning of this live, I've explored this a lot in the last 6 or so months. And I truly can say with all honesty that this is the first time in 50 years, I turned 50 earlier this year, that I truly feel at peace with myself. And it's amazing. It feels really good. It really does. And I'm
that's
so
beautiful.
excited to have you on. And thank you for spending your Friday evening from France with us. For those watching, please, any questions or comments before we let Dani have her weekend back? One quick question, Dani, and I may be wrong, and tell me if I am. After you make your jewelry, you do something to it. What
Yeah.
is it that you do?
So, first of all, I designed packaging for my clients because it comes already in a flower of life grid, which cleanse the energy. And I did that because I was all the time surrounded by some of my clients when I was doing shows and exhibitions. And some of them were like, oh, I don't want to do Palo Santo. The smell is so strong. I don't want to wait for the full moon because it's going to take a few weeks and everything. So I was like, okay, how can I just make this easy for them? I created in the packaging a flower of life grid, which in some bottles of water, we can see them. They're quite common to cleanse the energy of the water and to raise the frequency. So I already did that in the packaging. And I I drum. I have it's actually my drum is actually in the car right now because I'm gonna take it to a women's circle.
Okay.
But yes, I do a lot of drumming with intentions, with a prayer. So it's one of my favorite ways to actually connect, to actually like cleanse, because sound healing can also be used for cleansing the gemstones. And like that, I can just, drum when I have the crystal, and I feel like it's basically cleansing them all and like I'm adding intentions into it as well.
That's my
So
absolute favorite part of what you do. I love that. I love that. I love that. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. So when I say that your jewelry is super unique, it is truly super unique. I have never came across any jewelry like yours, and certainly no brands that I've ever encountered puts as much mind, body, and soul spirit into what they do, and it obviously passes it on to us. So that speaks volumes about you, Dani. Thank you so much.
thank you, Michelle. I'm so grateful to because I really also believe in everything that you do and working with different women and small businesses and to
Thank you.
promote the work that we do.
Yeah,
So I'm
thank you.
very grateful to be a part of the Michelle team.
Thank you so much. Well, I'm going to give you back your weekend. It looks like we do not have any comments or questions, but this will be posted on my Instagram page. Anyone who has any thoughts once we hang up, please feel free. And we will speak to you again really soon, Dani. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Have a good weekend.
Have a good weekend.
Bye.
Ciao.